the first time I really started getting a rhythm with microdosing, a lot of stuff came up.
Yeah.
A lot of unhealed trauma came up, and I actually had moments of anxiety, even though I was able to focus and write this book. There was a lot of trauma that I needed to resolve. And so what I did is I actually went to a therapist, a clinical therapist who understood the microdosing journey and was worked with me as those traumas came up. So I think the integration is really an important one, because I do not want this conversation for women to walk away and think you just take this magic little pill and your life goes away. No, this is not a dissociative. It doesn't check you out of your life. It checks you into your life. Oh. And everything there that's no longer working for you is going to be right there for you to heal. And that could be painful.
Painful, destabilizing, scary. You know, when faced with major change, it's scary, especially as mothers. You know, if I change, what is my family? What is my partner going to do? How could I possibly change? We have this structure that's working. I don't deserve to throw a wrench in that. I don't deserve to be different. That's not only practical, right? Like when I changed, my family had to adjust. My family had to adjust to like Tracy 2.0, but also I get it, you know, and if you don't feel like you have partner or support, it's very hard. And just like you, when I really kind of settled into my practice, I always talk about, it was an entire month, a month of March. I cried the entire month. I cried every day. I cried on the way home from the grocery store. I would drive around the block. I didn't even know why I was crying. And it was years of emotions and actually feeling our feelings. And I think in the Moms on Mushrooms community, one of the biggest things that happens to women is when you first microdose, it's kind of like the first like few days, depending on who you are. But for a lot of people, you actually do like feel really great. Like all of a sudden you're just like in this really good mood, kind of when you start a medicine for the first time. It's sort of an instant gratification. And then that wears off and the onion layers start to form. And then people will say, well, it's been 2 weeks or a month and I'm not feeling like that anymore. I'm down, I'm depressed, I'm angry. Rage is a big one. I'm sad. I have anxiety, and I'm going to quit. And I'm just going to go back on my SSRIs because, and that is exactly where the unlearning has to happen, because we aren't taught, especially as women, that it's okay to cry for a month. You're labeled as hysterical. You're labeled as you have a mental health problem. You're labeled as you need help. And you're certainly looked at, who gives you sympathy for that? Who holds space for you if you're just weepy for a month?
No, we don't. The whole culture does not know what to do with us in those moments.
No. So that's probably one of the biggest shocks to people, is that you feel worse before you feel better. Yeah.
And I want to explain why that happens, because once I dove into the science on this, the science, just so everybody knows, is like emerging so quickly, and we're getting more and more and more information out. Now, of course, they haven't done it on women, and we may be the last version that they do it on, because we're the last in all research. But it improves neuroplasticity. And neuroplasticity and neurogenesis are these, I call them baby neurons. There are these birthing of these new neurons, and you're creating new connections between different parts of your brain. So you have new thoughts. And this is why you can go at looking at your life and think it's horrible, and you start microdosing, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, I have a new lens to see this with, that actually this may not be as horrible as I thought. Because I believe if the mushrooms actually give you more access to your brain. And in that, you are seeing things different. And in that, some of those things you see different might need some healing. So that shouldn't be a bad thing. Do we want to stay numbed out, or do we want to go in and start to work on some of these healings? So that's the first thing I want to say. Second thing is that psilocybin goes into the 5-HT2A serotonin receptor site. That is the same receptor site that estradiol stimulates. So you've already been getting a stimulation of this receptor site. But any woman going through perimenopause or is postmenopausal, guess what? Estradiol, she retired. And so you're left with a lack of stimulation of this receptor site. So you're not getting as much serotonin. So if I put you on an SSRI, that, now you're addicted to that. It's got a whole bunch of consequences. It's not something that should be taken lightly. But if I put you on a microdose of psilocybin, you're stimulating that with no consequence. So talk a little bit about the moods that you're seeing in your community, because antidepressants is not the solution and for long-term mental health.
No, I mean, no. The stories I have heard are shocking. I mean, consistently women saying, I have been on Zoloft and Wellbutrin and Adderall or any number of cocktails. I don't even know why I'm taking them. I don't know which one to start to get off of. I don't know how. I'm scared to get off. And also, I find myself looking out the window at my office building and wondering what it would feel like if I just walked out. Yes, I have heard that more times. I mean, it's hard to even say out loud. I have heard it more times.
Do you know that the most common time for a woman to commit suicide is the most common decade is 45 to 55. There is a hormonal reason for that. We tend to think of our teenage girls committing suicide. No, it's our moms. It's our grandmas. It's our community leaders that are committing suicide because of exactly what you just said. They are losing their hormones, and then they get put on medications to try to change that. And they're not being offered this natural solution that you and I both know works so well.
Yeah. And then on top of it, in a broader conversation, is the lack of ceremony in our culture, the lack of rites of passage. Yeah. I just realized I had this breakdown actually at a psychedelic conference with a dear sister of mine that I went with. And we just kind of like stayed up late and we're talking one night. And all of a sudden I missed my uterus. I missed it so much. And I was like, why was it just taken? And I didn't get to say goodbye. And then all my parts got removed from me. Everything that I identified as being a woman, as being a female, and I had a hard time getting pregnant. So like, it was already a tenuous, relationship to begin with. Powerful. It was just removed. And then I just was asked to go home the next day. Nobody even mentioned that I might actually feel a hole in my womb, an energetic space that I did not know what to do with. And you compound that with not only many women having surgeries, but having traumatic births, with having terrible periods, with having hormones out of whack, never feeling at home in your body, never, ever being asked or told what to do about it, and not celebrating the miracle that we are, this miraculous, amazing system that we are allowed to hold inside us that gives life, that holds life, and does all these amazing things. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about it at all.
You bring up such a brilliant point. I had a moment in my perimenopausal journey that I was just really, my moods were really struggling. And I was in a meditation and I had this thought, like, why am I villainizing my ovaries? Like, these ovaries produced eggs every single month. And 2 times those eggs actually turned into these beautiful children that I got to raise and that I get to love. Why wouldn't I thank this body part? And I think that your point is even taking that concept to even the next level, which is that there is no ceremony, there is no respect. It's respect for our body that has been lost. So I really resonate with you there.